Hello, bug friends. Normally, when you see my face, we're talking about bugs. But today, we're talking about how my chosen home of Ecuador does not have enough electricity for the country. Yeah, so that's awesome. I've tried to make this video so many times that I keep going off on so many different tangents. So this might just be the last time, and you get what you get, all right? Let's start with yesterday. Yesterday, our Ministry of Energy was like, hey, we do not have enough energy for the country. Sorry about that. The way that we're going to fix this is that everyone is going to lose power on a rolling blackout system from now, starting literally tomorrow. We got this message at 4 o'clock yesterday, something like that. And then today, the 27th, so that was yesterday, October 26th, 2023. Today is October 27th, 2023. That's when it started. And it will continue until December, every single day. Everyone will lose power between 3 and 4 hours in the day on a rolling, rotating schedule, maybe. Like my power was supposed to go out today between 12 and 4, but instead went out at 4 instead. So, and we don't have tomorrow's schedule yet, so I'll get back to you on that. All right. The official reason stated is that there has been the worst drought in 50 years, and our hydroelectric plants on the rivers just don't have any river water to create electricity. It's hard to make electricity from a hydroelectric plant without the hydro part, last time I checked. Now, most of our hydroelectric plants are on the eastern side of Ecuador. Ecuador is a small country on the northwest section of South America. We have the Andean Mountains running down straight through the middle of our country. And so the western side is down into the coast, and then the eastern side is down into the Amazon. The eastern side, it's rainy season, because Ecuador has rainy seasons, and the rainy seasons are different on both sides of the mountain. A little bit complicated, but the simplified version is on the eastern side of the mountain, you have the rainy season in June, July, August, and September. Peak rain, lots of rain. And on the western side, it's essentially the opposite. So here in Quito right now, for example, it's our rainy season, but it's the dry season down in the Amazon, which obviously if the wet season wasn't wet enough, and now we're in the dry season, you can see why we're having hydro problems in our hydroelectric plants. So that is the official stated reason of why this is happening. Now, as someone who does tours in the Amazon region and in the Western Cloud Forest, kind of like, all of the jungly areas where you might find bugs, I have seen concerning things regarding the climate for quite a while now. And even when I first moved here 8 years ago, locals in some of these places, local guides, and just people who are working in eco lodges, were talking about how the weather has been a little weird and not really following the right pattern, and things are getting drier and drier in general, which, I mean, all of my fellow environmentalists, all of my fellow conservationists, no, you're just screaming to the void when you talk about these things. So anyway, we have screamed to the void, and now we don't have enough electricity because we don't have enough water to fill our rivers. Some other reasons are that our infrastructure just wasn't taken care of very well, and that's not an Ecuador-specific problem. John Oliver did a great piece on all of the failing infrastructure in the United States as well. I mean, it's we can't crap on just Ecuador for that. Maintenance is I don't know, everyone has money for new projects, but somehow no one has money for maintenance, which doesn't make sense to me. But no one asked my opinion, so we'll leave it at that. And then also, a lot of people speculate that there's a lot of corruption going on. I'm not exactly sure in which way it's affecting. Maybe it's just the infrastructure deteriorated more quickly because it wasn't built as well, because the money that was supposed to go into it went into people's pockets instead. I'm not really sure. That part is not facts. I mean, it might be facts, but I don't have any evidence to support those maybe facts. This is just what I've heard. Would I be surprised if there was corruption problems? No. I mean, lots of our infrastructure here in Ecuador was affected by corruption. So I am sure, but I have no way to be hey, X% of the money that was supposed to go into this instead went somewhere else. I don't. But just know that possibly corruption is the thing that is not helping the situation. I am not going to talk about that part because I can't. What I am going to talk about is what I have seen in my time here in Ecuador regarding the climate, especially how dry it's been. I have been fortunate enough to go to the Amazon both this September and the previous September. my job takes me all over Ecuador, so I don't get to go to every place every month, every year. I bounce around a lot. That's actually kind of the reason why I liked how I set up my business, because then I'm not going to the same place all the time. Anyway, I have been to the Amazon. I work in one lodge specifically. It is in the Cuyabeno area, so it is northeast Ecuador, close to the Colombian border, and a really unique ecosystem called the floating forest. Now, when you have the Amazon in other places, like in Peru or Brazil or at most other places that you find the Amazon, like the rivers get a little bit dry, like they fill up, they go down, they fill up, they go down, but pretty much there's wet a lot. But in Cuyabeno, this ecosystem is really unique because it is called the floating forest. Sometimes the river can be 30, 40 feet deep, and sometimes you can be playing soccer on the riverbed, and that is completely seasonal. So during the dry season, you're playing soccer on the riverbed, and during the rainy season, the water is up so high that it's like under the boardwalks of the lodge, and you're looking down and seeing electric eels as you're like walking over them. Like it's incredible the amount of water difference in the floating forest. Now, like I said, I have been there this September and past September, which is supposed to be peak rainy season, and it just wasn't. It was dry. I mean, it wasn't quite like being able to play soccer on the riverbed, but it was super dry that like all the butterflies were out and they were starting to puddle, and it took a while to get the canoe up because the water level was low enough that, you know, some of the water was maybe only that deep in some places. So I was like, hey, 2 years in a row now, that seems a little concerning. And everyone's like, yeah, it seems a little concerning. This past time that I was there, it hadn't rained in 11 days. And the time before that, when I had gone, it hadn't rained in 21 days. Now, I don't think you need to be an expert on the rainforest to know that if the rainforest has not rained in 21 days, that is a problem. Why is this happening? Well, lots of reasons. Climate change overall, generally, just the planet is, you know, warming, ocean temperatures are going up, but a lot of it is deforestation as well. So much of the Amazon has just been completely cut down for palm oil, like literally miles and miles, kilometers and kilometers of rainforest has just been cut completely down because of palm oil production. Then there's regular oil production, and then there's just farming in general, like cacao, like so chocolate and bananas, for example, also grow at this elevation. So a lot of it is just like cut down for agriculture. The Amazon is not uniquely experiencing this, like, oh, it's a little dry. It's like it's a little bit of a problem. However, one of the cultural things, at least in Ecuador, I can only speak to this northern section of Ecuador where I frequently do my tours. But one of the last times that I had gone that it was just so dry, people were lighting fires and burning, probably not the actual forest itself, but burning like all of the little like weeds and stuff that they had cut down in their little farm or cut down in their yard. And the idea is that when you create these fires, it brings the rain. I have read that Amazon forests can create what are called cloud seeds, where they release a chemical when it gets too dry, and then those little chemicals, water droplets, bind onto, and then you get enough like binding on these little chemicals, and then you get clouds, and then it rains. That is something that was recently discovered, which is really cool. So I'm not sure if maybe back in the day that was true, like you could light fires and that created like little chemical seeds and made it rain. I don't, or it's just like something culturally that was just picked up somewhere along the way. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't have all of the answers. I only have, I in fact don't even have most of the answers. So it's not working now, and that could just be because it never actually worked. Or it could be because maybe there's just so much rainforest has cut down. Like maybe back in the day, if you had like a little fire, you know, with all the extra trees, all the little chemicals going up, it was enough. But maybe now there's just like not enough rainforest for that to be effective. Like we talk about how corals can release a chemical that cause it to cloud over and cool the area and from the coral down, but that's not working for them either because there's just been so much destruction that it just doesn't work anymore. I don't know. All I'm saying is the past couple of years I've been like, it's really dry and that seems not great. And then the guys there are like, yeah, that seems not great. And that's where we've left it. Even like years before this, like my dad came to visit me like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and we were going to go down to Mindo, which is on the western side of the cloud forest. And there was a drought there too at that point. Like I've been to these ecosystems enough now that you can just like feel in the humidity, you can feel that something isn't right. You can see when the trees aren't quite the right color, that there's just a little bit too much of eerie stillness. Because when it gets too hot, the animals don't like to be out either. Like, I know it's not great for your camera equipment and stuff, the rain, but yeah, the animals need the rain in the rainforest, as it turns out. And I went with my dad and I was like, it is so dry. What is happening? And the owner of the eco lodge who I went to, she was like, yeah, it's crazy. I have to water the gardens in the rainforest. Watering the gardens in the rainforest. Like how? Why? Anyway, so I feel like I'm not really surprised. I think I've been seeing like the inklings of this problem happening for a while now. And like, I don't know, who do you tell? It like doesn't even matter. Like we've been screaming about environmental destruction. We've been screaming about climate change. We've been screaming out about all this stuff for so long. But until it becomes like a financial problem, it's not gonna be looked at, unfortunately. So yeah, there we are. Go visit the earth while you still can. I think that's gonna be the end of this video.